Round number 6 of our 9 rounds of our historic tournament. Before, of course, we do cut to our top 12. So let's take a little look. Not a bad hand here for either player, I would say.
No, very solid hand here for our Rakdos Sacrifice player. Just some stuff to put in the graveyard. Kroxa, even the Castle Locklane here has a chance of being really good in this matchup. On the other side, Rory King trying to get a hand with lands and spells has not had that much success just yet. Well, looking like going down to 5 cards.
Did a little bit better this time. Looks like Hollow Fountain and Island are going to go away. The rest are going to stay. Going to start things off with the Triangle. We are underway here in round number 6. Austin Silva with a Swamp and a Stitcher Supplier. 3 cards headed to the graveyard. And the most relevant of the bunch is the Kroxa that you do now see on the right side of the screen. That's an island there for Rory, and now here's a Priest of Forgotten Gods. That's the draw there for Austin. Again, both these players are 5-0, looking to make the top 12 today. That's where our cut does take place. Here comes Stitcher Supplier. This is the easy part. Get this out of the way. And the follow-up could very easily just be hard casting that Kroxa on turn number 2, but we're going to go to Priest of Forgotten Gods instead. So,
yeah, the argument for casting the Kroxa there is you're a little bit taxed on red mana. You only have a single mountain. So all other things being equal, you'd rather cast the red spell here to sort of free up. But I don't think that really matters here too much because Claim the Firstborn is the only other red card in your hand that's interfering, and it's unlikely that your opponent produces something in the short term to claim.
Mm-hmm. Cauldron Familiar, the draw, not a bad one there. Censor, and the Birth of Meletus in hand right now for our Azorius control player, alongside a Wrath of God and a Castle Lockbane. Beat down to a Stitcher Supplier. $20-18 in favor of Rakdos Sacrifice. And now here is Kroxa with an additional mana so that no shenanigans happen with the Censor. So there'll be a trigger. And don't forget, you can sacrifice these 2 creatures to Priests of the Forgotten Gods now if you want to, which could be pretty fun. Good stacking. Now, sacrifice both of these. That'll yield a couple of triggers here, of course. Ghost Rider headed to the graveyard. Priest of Forgotten Gods. Going to make some mana. Scrounger actually the draw off of that. And now there's the escape check. And you'd love to be able to resolve Call of the Death Dweller this turn. But Censor is going to kind of muck that up, unfortunately.
Well, there's the alternate line if you have a lot of respect here for a possible Censor, which is just Scrounger and then Cauldron Familiar. If the Cauldron Familiar gets censored, who really cares?
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's exactly what we find here from Austin Silva. So that takes care of that.
I think I would have preferred a cycle there on the Censor. With Kroxa looming, I think you just need to err on the side of trying to get yourself empty-handed as soon as possible. Sure. Sitting back on some reactive cards, I think is a recipe for Kroxa gets basically too much mileage.
Okay.
And the upside of keeping a Censor in hand just seems not
pretty minimal.
High. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty minimal against a deck like this that all of its spells are so darn cheap, right?
Right.
If I'm Rory King, I like cycling the Censor because I got to find my best card, and my best card in this deck, I think, in a pretty abstract sense, is Teferi.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that you have 5 mana also. So you want to just be cycling, making land drops, playing out empty-handed.
There's a castle. Here is a search for Azcanta. Okay. Well, our Azorius control player is empty-handed, which is not a place they love to be in, which is Witch's Oven is going to sacrifice the Stitcher Supplier, and now we're going to get back to Cauldron Familiar. So for Rakdos Sacrifice, we got everything online except for maybe a second red source. That might be the only thing that's missing right now. Other than that, life looks pretty good.
Although for King's side, even though I think King is in some trouble, the last two cards there were about as good as it gets. Land number 5 and Castle Ardenvale alongside Sorcerer's Kanta. Very easy to flip that over and start drawing some cards. Any times where you don't have stuff to do with your mana, you have an opportunity to make a 1/1, which could be useful. So in trouble, but some resources to rebuild with.
There's your Hallowed Fountain. And now, Scrap Heap Scrounger is going to come back in the graveyard. And if once is nice, twice is fine. Scrap Heap Scrounger is a huge ad for a deck like this. Huge ad.
Yeah, it's just kind of good with everything. Good with the beatdowns. Good to mill over. Gives you stuff to do with your extraneous stuff that gets milled over. Just strong on rate. It's everything the deck could really be asking for.
Yeah, I think it's really, really nice. Here come those beatdowns. In for 7. Rory's going to make a 1/1. I'm just going to chump block a Scrounger. So 4's going to come through. King's going to fall down to 8. And with a newly peeled Blood Crypt, here comes the Titan of Death's Hunger. Going to escape a handful of cards.
Going to be real tough here to for Rory to keep head above water here. This is so much damage and so much pressure to find a sweeper every turn.
Witch's Oven, gonna sacrifice Kroxa in response to the Wrath of God, make 2 food tokens, and the creatures that are killed, well, are they dead? No, they're not.
No.
Scrappy Scrounger will come back, Cauldron Familiar will buy itself back by sacrificing a food, and that will take care of that. So, Austin Silva very easily wins game number 1 there over Rory King. Rakdos Sacrifice up a game rather quickly against Azorius Control. King's got some work to do in the sideboard, and you see both these players are working on that. We're going to work on this, folks. Karnox, you can be like me, and I suppose my other commentating friends when we do these tabletop SCG Tour events again sometime in the future. We sit in our Karnox chairs to do them. I'm sitting in one right now, and you can sit in one too. Head over at karnox.com/SCG. Save % at checkout when you do use that affiliate link, and check out all their awesome wares and offerings as far as chairs are concerned. I know a lot of people always are asking on social media, where's the best place for me to buy a gaming chair? Well, you just found it. Karnox.com/SCG. Saved for 10% at checkout. Pretty easy first game there for Rakdos Sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, a 5-card hand is going to be hard no matter what. A 5-card hand that involves Kroxa is going to be, I don't want to say impossible, because the Azorius Control that can draw cards and try to pull back in that way, but just not going to have enough resources to work with. And this is a matchup where I think a lot of these sweepers just don't play all that well. Rakdos is capable of rebuilding really easily. The threats are recursive. It's a lot of problems basically trying to manage that game, the game that way in the first place, and then on 5 cards, it's going to be even harder.
Well, looks like Rory found a better hand. There are a couple of copies of the Birth of Meletus, a Hieroglyphic Illumination. On the other side of things, not 1, but 2 copies of Thoughtseize, and something to play towards in the long game there with Bolas' Citadel. Looks like Illumination is going to be the choice, so get that thing out of here. I think the thought process here is Birth of Meletus, though it is good, it's not doing things that I really care all that much about. The 0/4 wall token, you can find your lands, whatever. You got to draw some real spells, which is what Hieroglyphic Illumination allows you to do.
Yeah, and Illumination is just, there's no way to keep your opponent off of lands because they have so many to work with, plus a Birth of Meletus, even if you took the first one. And it's going to take you a little while to get off the ground here, you're really vulnerable to planeswalkers. And so I think you just need to cut off kind of the bulk raid card drawing.
Priest of Forgotten Gods squaring off against that 0-4. And now here we see a Scrapheap Scrounger. But unfortunately, for the Rakdos Sacrifice player, no third land, so the Triumph is going to be cycled, and Gideon of the Trials is the draw. Follow-up is Teferi. Now, those are some real Magic cards. Okay.
Yeah, the 0-4 is going to be really nice here in protecting the Planeswalker. And, the Rakdos Sacrifice deck is not like it plays a whole bunch of Bedevil Dreadbore style cards. It's planning on managing Planeswalkers mostly through combat and Thoughtseize. And so Teferi Hero Dominaria, if Austin can't get into a position to start attacking next turn, it's going to be very, very hard to overcome that.
I kind of forget that Gideon Trials is actually a pretty darn good Magic card.
Yeah, I mean,
Gideon, a little bit.
Birth of Meletis plus Gideon of the Trials is a curve that can really blunt almost any aggressive opening. It's very hard to attack through those two cards.
I like this attack. Give you a little taste. Not get anywhere, but let's just check you out just in case. There's another Birth of Meletis. Just lands in hand. Now, speaking of lands, there's one for Austin Silva. So Austin's got all the goods in the grip, just couldn't cast any of them, but can now. So now we'll see how he elects to sequence.
Yeah, it's tough because you can say that Austin is, getting off the ground here, but and Rory's hand is just lands.
Mm-hmm.
But Gideon plus the 0-4 is gonna do a lot to suppress combat for a long time, and any big draw here from Rory is gonna be a challenge, I think, for Austin to overcome.
Oh, there's a Scrounger. It's time to cycle an Irrigated Farmland. Well, that's a powerful card. Here we go.
That's a good one.
There's Teferi Hero Dominaria, best card in this deck, in my estimation. It's the whole reason to be playing Azorius Control. And this thing can run away with games all by itself. So here is 5 mana Teferi. That alongside the Birth of Meletis and the Gideon of the Trials, you're going to see Teferi draw a card. Found a copy of Pact Negation. That alongside the Gideon emblem is a combo, assuming you control Gideon, of course. A combo that your friend and mine, Shaheen Sarani, loves in Historic.
Mm-hmm. And also the path is just fine once we're here, It's not like Rory's going to be bottlenecked on mana.
There's Fable Passage.
And now, unlike the first game, we've hit the point where if Austin gets tagged with a sweeper, it's going to be too hard to come back from.
Yep, I agree.
Because there's just too much infrastructure in place now, too much card advantage. And this is in spite of Rory flooding out pretty badly.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't take long for Teferi to get you, kind of help you come back,
Yeah.
Really, it feels like it only takes 2 activations. All of a sudden, you got your draw set for the turn, you got Teferi, you untap those lands and do some stuff, and it's like, wow, I caught back up there pretty quickly. There is Pact Negation. And even if you are paying the 5 for Pact Negation, we have Teferi out, it really doesn't feel so bad.
No. I mean, you get 2 more looks at it. Your mana's still going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Well, elimination will get you more draw steps. Center might actually do something here. Teferi's going to plus. Woe Strider, shut you on down. Thank you very much.
I think at this point you're kind of just looking at a sweeper to cinch it up. And even if you don't find one, it's not like, Roy's at 22. A lot of extra cards to work with.
Which is up in the draw. Okay. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Oh, this could be bad. This could be bad.
Oh, yeah. You're saying the Bolas' Citadel here that's coming?
Okay, well, drew a land, so could have gone a lot worse.
Instead, could be quite good.
Yeah, it really could be. All right, Citadel resolves. Let's start off with a Stitcher Supplier, shall we? Now, Scrounger, Thoughtseize. All this is pretty great. That there's just like that one spare mana open too.
Yeah, perfect.
Kind of humorous actually. Hieroglyphic Illumination. Show you a disallow and a center. Okay, get the disallow out of here. Alright, Cauldron Familiar, that's a freebie. Lose one, gain one, which is Oven. Okay, get to actually resolve that. The opponent's tapped out, sacrifice a little something something, sacrifice a supplier, mill a couple of cards, clear the top of your deck, got a Swamp Lion on top. Okay, I mean, don't really think that was a bad turn. You did up the number of permanents you have, too. Looks like you're going to see a censor get cycled. Glacial Fortress to draw. So you see Rory King. Yes, there is an active Teferi and Gideon out there. Don't get it twisted, but Bolsa Citadel might be more powerful than both of those cards, assuming that the life total is high enough here for Austin Silva, which still got a decent amount of life to work with.
And Cat Oven for a little bit of cushion. But yeah, I mean, the burden is on Rory to find a sweeper and or a way to stop Bolsa Citadel really fast.
Yep. Swamp coming, maybe. That's actually an interesting turn to figure out how to sequence. I guess attacking first is a good way to get this party started. All right, let's see. Yeah, let's work this down a little bit.
Big swing. Now keep in mind, Rory still has some ability to get the card advantage up and rolling again next turn with as Kanta the Sunken Ruin, but it's not nearly as reliable or as cheap as having Teferi as an option.
The Midnight Reaper. That's a pretty good turn. And I'm with you. The Ascanta transforming, that's a big deal, but it just might be too slow.
Right. It
really just might be. So here comes Field of Ruin. Going to go out to the Dragon Skull Summit. Okay, sure. See if there's any more basics high now. While also fixing your mana a little bit. Okay, plenty of basics there in swamps and mountains.
But I think the big thing with that field is trying to get the Bulls to Citadel shuffled away.
Mm-hmm. Don't have to worry about that card again. It's already problematic enough. Take a look at the top card with Search for Escanta. The Wreckage. Okay.
It's not bad here.
And now you get to activate her straight away. This is interesting. Well, we find Grafdigger's Cage. Okay.
That's a great find. My concern here with activating Search for Escanta first was that if you found something good and reasonably proactive, like let's say a Planeswalker or something, and then said go, there's a bit of a giveaway about what your draw step could have been that turn. This way, it's pretty well concealed. It looks like you found nothing. You were looking for help. You found something kind of useful in a Grafdigger's Cage and cast it. So it does a very good job of concealing the settle the wreckage.
Sure. And you don't even have to play your land, like your Hallowed Fountain untapped or anything like that. You're just all rolled up.
Yeah, it's really, really well concealed here. Interesting to see how much Austin's willing to play around it at this point.
Well, again, remember, it is an open deck list event, so once you have the opportunity to take a look and see what your opponent has access to. Though I'm with you, I am curious about how much do we play around this right now. And we're thinking. All right. Come and get you. And gonna take care of them. Now this game takes an interesting turn. So now you can activate Priest, sacrifice some stuff, get some cards out of this exchange. So it's not the end all be all.
And you have your ovens as well.
Yeah. So I guess this settle isn't the end of the world. I mean, when there's a Grafdigger's Cage on the battlefield, it is annoying and problematic, but you are drawing a lot of cards, even though a lot of them appear to be lands right now.
Well, and Austin's got a lot of stuff to do with mana, too. It's not like the Settle the Wreckage is free. Plenty of stuff to do with all that extra mana. And you have the Witch's Ovens here to protect your Cauldron Familiar, so it's not that bad. But again, it does sort of leave Rory in a spot where draw steps could be helpful. Finding some other card advantage engine, some way to stabilize this. There's a little bit of breathing space now that there wasn't before.
That's a really good draw of a Braid.
Yeah, Braid's not bad here.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That one's pretty good.
I'm going to blow that up now. Now my graveyard's back on. Now I can get these Cauldron Familiars back. Or at least the Cauldron Familiar I have back. I have Kroxa back as an option. I have Scrap Heap Scroungers and Woe Strider as an option. So yeah, this took a positive turn. I'm going to play Kroxa just for 2 mana. That'll make a discard take place. Just a land's going to go away. Now Kroxa will be sacrificed with the trigger on. Get some more food tokens, of course. 2 of them because it's a big creature. Yes, this actually, even though Settle the Wreckage was the draw, and actually a pretty good one, the reality is not that difficult to work through. And now, we play on. So, Elion's Intervention was the draw. That one's got some relevant text. And Escanta the Sunken Ruin is going to be activated.
Shadow of the Sky is, potentially useful, but again, it's just it's hard to fend this all off forever. Even casting a sweeper every turn, it's still going to be really tough.
All right, let's sacrifice the Fabled Passage. 1 land left. Get back to Scrounger. Goodbye, Wolf Rider. Yes, man, Scrounger's a huge ad for this deck. But I'm going to preempt you. I'm not jonesing about this deck.
The Rakdos Sacrifice deck?
Yeah.
Wish the mana was a little bit better.
Yeah, me too. Me too. This is pretty nice. Let's get that Cauldron Familiar back, but this Heliod's Intervention looks pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I think this Rakdos Sacrifice deck is bad. It's actually I think Scrappy Scoundrel is a huge addition to this deck. It's just I don't know how I feel about it just yet. And again, small sample. We're just watching one match. There's Mayhem Devil. Probably not going to have time to get to the time-shifted match this round, if I had to guess.
Yeah, this is game 2.
So. Yeah. Well, Croxa, you're going to get hit Shatter the Sky. You know, this is a deck, though, that takes advantage of its graveyard probably better than any other deck in the format, and it does have ways to get a card like Grafdigger's Cage off the battlefield. We saw that Timely Abrade, and it can also play around Grafdigger's Cage with a card like Mayhem Devil, which we might be seeing join the fray here in just a moment.
It's interesting to be in the spot where you have so many resources to work with. You don't even have to be that worried about like Wrath off the top. You just need to be mindful about using your mana efficiently more than anything.
There's a Reaper. Hello, Teferi. As powerful as you are, I don't know if you can pull even Rory out of this situation.
I mean, Teferi doesn't have a whole lot of immediate impact. It's, kill something or draw a card, neither of which are going to be able to pull Rory back in when the timeline is this short.
Oh, okay. Well,
it was almost cool.
That was
the goal here was to sacrifice to turn on the Gideon. So
yeah, we're out of here. Fold.
Yield.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Draw card out the sky. Yeah.
Cycle the Gideon into something new, but it just kind of went a different way. Yeah.